Today we're going to take a look at incident management and incident generation using the SolarWinds Log and Event Manager, and how it goes about doing that and what you can expect and can and can't do using LEM for incidents. So first, just some overview. Incident management with the Log and Event Manager is going to require that you have rules defined that generate incidents. These rules can also have other alerts as part of them, like emails or pop-up messages, but there is a specific incident action that I will show you in my examples in just a moment. You're probably going to want to be able to use filters and in-depth to look for incident events as they occur. There is a filter out of the box, and we can send those criteria to in-depth to do historical reporting. You'll probably also want the Log and Event Manager reports, as this is how we can aggregate incidents to make them presentable. What incident management with the LEM is very high level, is a way to generate to-do lists based on what you call critical, important, or severe issues throughout your environment and through your network. It's something that's generated by the rules that you have set up, and it will be shown in filters and searches as well as in our reports. What it isn't is the LEM does not have a way to acknowledge incidents. There isn't a way to go in after the fact. Maybe something bad happens with a domain controller or something, it triggers an incident. There's no way to go back later and acknowledge that incident as handled in the Log and Event Manager. So you'll have to come up with a process or a system that works for that. Some remediation can be automated, obviously, by the rules, but what process you use for your incident management and remediation is up to you and outside of the Log and Event Manager. So enough talk, let's get on with it. This is the filter tab from a Log and Event Manager in my lab. You will notice that over here under security is an incidents filter. And right now there is nothing. Since I've had the console up, nothing has triggered an incident. Now, this is probably desirable in most cases, that there aren't incidents going on. You know, great, congratulations, huzzah, we don't have to worry about anything. But in the real world, the bigger, more likely explanation for this is simply that nothing in the LEM's rules engine is currently flagging something as incidents. So we can take a look at that if we go to our build rules. And we can look at some of our different rules and types. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to search by what will generate an incident necessarily, but I happen to know a couple off the top of my head that should do that. So for example, if we come down here to the Devices section and click on Manager, this refers to the Log and Event Manager itself. These are a couple of rules that I definitely suggest that everybody have turned on, and they are templates that are included with the system. So if we take a look at the database down, you'll notice that this one is not an incident, it just sends an email. And if we go to our disk warnings, this one has the incident alert action. So you can see that when this rule is created, it is triggered by these criteria, and all these numbers were created by our developers and engineers to indicate when a LEM partition gets dangerously full without too many false positives, it creates a host incident. Another one that I have running that creates incidents that's much easier to track is our agent offline, or I thought I had that running. But it can create incidents when a particular server or system goes offline. So you'll see here that I have a send email, and if I wanted to have this trigger an incident alert, and probably what I would do is have this actually based off of a list of like critical servers, I can add that incident action to any event. So what is this actually going to do once I've defined that I have an incident? It's going to create a whole new event called an incident, and that event is what is going to get picked up by this incidents filter. I believe if I come in here to my SolarWinds Login Event Manager service and I stop that on my agent, we should see an incident come up here momentarily. So what you're going to see here by default, though, is nothing until rules have been turned on or created with that incident action. So if I send this to in-depth, you'll see that the various criteria are included up here by default, and I can look at the last week. There we go. I knew my incident would pop up eventually. So here I can say, take me to the filter, and host incident, my agent is offline. So I have a rule that triggers whenever an agent is offline for too long. That's one of the templates that's included with the LEM, so you can turn that on if you like. So now I have something in my incident field, and that's only generated because I have a rule that looks for that. So if I come back to my in-depth and search, you can see that I have incidents. All of mine are based on, for the most part, machines, the agents going offline and timing out, agent offline timeout. But I do also have some incidents being generated for user logon but no agent. So this is, logon came from a machine that this particular login event manager doesn't have an agent for. Can be useful for detecting if a rogue machine has been connected to the network and someone's using it to connect to the domain. So I've got a couple of different events. All of mine trigger these host incidents. So what can we do with this information? Well, first we could take the actual incidents from the last week, export them, put them in Excel, make it into a list that we have to address. We could export this information to a PDF for reporting, however is needed. But in the Log and Event Manager reports, there is an incident alerts report. This report, when run, and if we go ahead and run this for the previous week, so let's say, well, end date can be now, start date can be a week ago, since I know I have some events that match that. We'll let that run. And you can see there's my 23 host incidents, which matches pretty much with what I have in in-depth. So these are whole new events. So you could have rules or other alerts in the LEM that look for host incident type events and take some other action or respond to it in some way. But you'll see that I get this breakdown of what happened. So user logged on but no agent, logged on to this server as administrator, and from Vista Security, we can see that we have the agent timeout that just occurred here a few seconds ago, or if I go to the last page, that'll be the event that's down here, and you can see the IP that went offline. So this is kind of incident management. So you could then export this as a PDF, have people digitally sign off as they address each of these events, or print it out and physically sign off on things to demonstrate that you are following some sort of process to mitigate and handle incident alerts as they occur. But the big key thing to understand is you aren't going to get any sort of incidents from the Log and Event Manager until rules have been turned on, created, or modified that have that incident action included. So here's my agent offline timeout rule. Again, this is one of the templates. You can clone this and turn this on and get reports right away. And you can see that it creates an incident, and there's where the data came from for my event. So that's incident management as far as the Log and Event Manager is concerned. There are many template rules that will trigger events that are incidents. None of them are enabled by default in the Log and Event Manager, but you are welcome to explore the templates or to create your own rules to get that enabled. Hopefully that helps you out as you work with the Log and Event Manager as an incident management platform. And if you have any other questions, you can either leave them in the comments or give a call to our support staff or check out Thwack and see how other customers and other users are taking advantage of this capability to do their incident management. Thank you and have a good day.